It's Wednesday night, May the 22nd.
You know what that means.
It is time for your favorite politically incorrect sports podcast. He is a conquistador, Dave Heights.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
And it is time for Sports Frenzy 2.0, baby. Going back to our old logo. We've got a lot for you this week, but a lot of different stuff. Not a lot of baseball per se. Just getting started with the NHL and the NBA Final Four.
Just touching on who's playing.
Yeah, bare bones when it comes to the NFL.
It's a hodgepodge.
But we'll have
a cornucopia.
Yes, and we'll have a lot of racing here to start things off.
Because we're heading into Memorial Day weekend.
That's right. The biggest race weekend of the year. We start off Sunday morning with the Monaco Grand Prix. And they're already showing pictures on the internet of all the rich people and their yachts pulling in.
Yep, everybody dressed to the nines, hitting the casinos.
Yep. So we got the Monaco Grand Prix in the morning, Indianapolis 500 in the afternoon, and then, of course, the longest race of the NASCAR Cup season, the Coca-Cola 600 at night. 4 stages. That's how long it is, kids. They had to add an extra stage, which means more points for us in our competition.
That's right. That extra 100 miles, you got to do something with it.
Yeah, evenly split race, I believe.
I believe so.
4 stages, 100 laps each, get you to 600 miles. And, of course, the big news for that is that Kyle Larson will attempt, I believe, to be the 5th driver to pull the double.
Yes. Running Indy 500 and then the Coca-Cola 600. Off to a solid start at Indy as a rookie. Qualified 5th for the race. Very strong showing.
Despite the fact that he couldn't, in the first round of qualifying, get a good run in.
Right. There was a hiccup or something within the motor that they just, all right,
he didn't
take
like
a breath. He didn't like the way. He would have qualified solidly in the field, but he didn't like the way it was going. Pull back, they fixed it. He went out and put up a monster qualifying run.
Yep.
Over 2:32. The dude is one talented racer.
Yep. And, of course, the pole went to Scott McLaughlin, one of those Penske guys we've been discussing here. So Penske, I believe, got the front row.
Yes, they did.
So if you love racing, this is your day. This is your holiday. The day before Memorial Day is your day. You can just sit in front of the TV all day and veg.
Yep. Just watch the cars go round and round.
Yep. Now, of course, I'm trying to avoid the inevitable, which is talking about the non-points NASCAR All-Star race from last Sunday at North Wilkesboro.
Once again, they tried to do something with the tires to get people on different tracks, maybe get some tire wear, get some movement, passing. They still cannot get these guys to pass on a short track. This car sucks on short tracks for good, solid racing. And this was another follow the leader event.
Well, Joey Logano got the pole and led all but one of the 200 laps.
Yeah, that was pretty damn pathetic.
That screams boring, boring, boring.
You know what wasn't boring? The post race.
Yeah, the ramifications and repercussions have come down from this little tete-a-tete with Kyle Busch and Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yep, second lap of the race, Kyle decided he didn't like the way Ricky raced him the first lap, and so Kyle punted him into the wall, ending his night early. So, of course, there's no tunnel. Drivers are stuck there, and Stenhouse is stewing all race long. Confronts Kyle afterwards and throws a sucker punch right hook that connects, and the melee was on.
So the fallout from this mess. Stenhouse Jr. avoids suspension
Yep.
Gets a very large fine, a
The-
$75,000 fine.
Yep, the largest ever for a fight. And then his dad for being involved, suspended from the tracks indefinitely.
Yes, Richard Stenhouse.
Yep. Ricky Sr.
No, it's Richard Stenhouse.
Okay.
He's the patriarch.
Sure. Whatever.
Then, of course, Stenhouse also lost 2 crew members.
Yep. Tire mechanic Clint Myrick, 8 races, and engine tuner Keith Matthews for 4 races.
Amazing how Kyle Busch and his guys got away with absolutely nothing.
They weren't the aggressors.
I guess, but still. This is the one time when somebody like the NBA gets it right, where usually they know both sides did something.
Yeah.
Because I was hearing before these penalties were actually handed out that he might be on the hook for aggressive driving, getting a penalty for that, for punting him into the wall.
They should be looking at that too, but we'll see.
Of course, North Wilkesboro, it's been announced, will host next year's All-Star race as well. So 3 years in a row.
Yep. Hopefully they will figure out a way to get these cars to pass to make it a little more exciting.
Yep, and then they haven't released the schedule yet, but there are little trickles coming out because of the new media deal. And they have to set up these streaming services and these new partners and kind of let everybody know when their coverage is going to end and when the next one's going to start. So for 2025, TNT's coverage of the Cup Series will begin with Atlanta on June the 28th. And of course, as we discussed previously, that will be the start of the in-season tournament.
Lame.
Then, of course, we have the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Dave and I put our 2 cents in a few weeks back when the finalists were announced, and we kind of announced who we thought should make it in.
Right.
And, of course, we were completely and totally off because we went old school. So Ricky Rudd gets in. Carl Edwards.
Nope, doesn't belong.
And Ralph Moody. Because remember,
I had Ralph Moody on my list.
Okay, because you had the 2, and then you had the 1, and then the one that the fans couldn't vote on went to Dr. Dean Sicking, who was basically the inventor of the safer barrier. But yeah, we went old school. We had Harry Gant and Neil Bonnet. And
yeah.
Nope. Not going to happen.
Those guys deserve to be in there more so than Carl Edwards.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand the appeal of Carl Edwards to me. This is kind of the equivalent of a Robert Smith. Remember him with the Minnesota Vikings? A good, solid running back who had 3,000 or 4,000 yard seasons and then abruptly quit in the prime of his career. And okay, great. What have you done for the sport? You were good for a short period of time.
But you disappeared. You haven't been anywhere near anything.
Yep. So, kids, take that for what you will. There's your NASCAR Hall of Fame class for 2024.
Failure.
And then I love rumors. I love rumors and I love speculation because it's just fun till Daddy takes the T-Bird away. We have alluded to here over the past year or so the travails, the struggles of Stewart-Haas Racing. Because they've gone from a top-level roster that featured Tony Stewart, that featured Kevin Harvick, now down
Clint
to
Boyer.
Chase Briscoe, Clint Boyer, and of course now it's Chase Briscoe and I mean Dave and I know, but your common NASCAR fan, maybe not the most devoted, probably couldn't name anybody. Maybe they couldn't even name Chase Briscoe.
Probably not.
Well, now rumors are out there that Stewart-Haas Racing might shut it down completely. They are looking
They're
at
looking
a
to
possibility.
sell their.
All 4 charters could be up for grabs here very soon.
Wow.
Now, there has to be some finalization to the negotiations that have been ongoing as to how they're going to structure this whole charter system going forward. But once that is put in place, rumblings and rumors say that Stewart-Haas Racing, at least on the Cup Series side, they will sell all of their charters off and be done. They will probably keep their Xfinity program going.
Potentially. Yeah, with Tony now running the NHRA, and with Haas trying to do something with his F1 situation.
Yeah, it'd be a shame, but maybe we get some more new blood. Maybe we get some of these newer teams adding third and fourth cars. So we could kind of see this coming as NASCAR fans. The lineup that Stewart-Haas is putting out there is not acceptable.
No.
It's just not.
This opens up another car for Trackhouse.
There you go. Trackhouse, one of the up-and-coming teams, more exciting teams out there.
Yeah.
So, yes. This all leads us to the picks from our esteemed, intelligent, and charismatic panel for the Coca-Cola 600 this coming Sunday evening, May the 26th, race 14. We're getting into the second half of the regular season now. We mentioned this last week. That means that Fox's coverage, unfortunately, is almost at an end.
And the abysmal coverage from NBC begins.
Yep. So, longest race, as I mentioned, of the Cup Series season. 400 laps, 600 miles. It is the Coca-Cola 600. Let's get that second half going, Dave. Let's get some more wins. Let's get some more stage wins.
I need some damn points. A couple of bad weeks.
Well, under the new rules, you're in.
I am, but still, I don't like it. Don't like it at all.
I'm beginning to wonder about these new rules now because of our little new twist with one of our members who doesn't like to get his picks in on time, yet somehow he's already qualified because he's got to win. I don't like that. See, this is why I didn't want to go the snowflake route. I didn't want to go participation trophies.
I didn't either.
Right now, if it wasn't for that, I mean, Doug's out by what? 15 points, and that's it. Everybody else is in.
Yeah.
Oh, because of one bad year last year. One bad year where half the panel didn't make the playoffs.
Guess what? We didn't pick well. We had bad luck. It happens. All right, moving on. Our picks. I am taking, along with the Big Blue W, we're going with Mr. Ryan Blaney.
Very good
Historically runs pretty well at Charlotte and in the 600. It's got a pretty good track record.
Yep, very good pick. Just wanted to save. I think I've got one left. I wanted to save it.
I believe this is my first Blaney pick, so.
Yep.
Good time to break it out.
Yep. Perpetual favorite, it seems like, at almost every track every week. Jen and Doug are taking Denny Hamlin.
Yep. Sam going with Chris Buescher. He is primed to have a breakout win here soon.
I almost wonder, though, if the All-Star race didn't take momentum away from him. You know, I think he would have wanted to keep racing.
Yeah.
But that week where there were no points involved,
we'll see. Those are usually throwaway cars that they run in the All-Star race anyway.
Then Aaron is going with Mr. Double.
Yep.
See, I wouldn't do this. No way in hell would I do this.
I specifically stayed away from Larson. I got one left, but I would not have taken him here. Not with him pulling the double. No. He is going to be fried.
Agree 100%. But Aaron's taking Kyle Larson. And then, as I mentioned, we have one pick that is not in yet again.
Yep. So
he's turning into Voldemort for me. He who shall not be named. He who shall not be named.
Moldy Wart.
And then I am taking William Byron.
Another solid pick. So,
Yep.
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Outside of my worries about, as you echoed, Kyle Larson being dog tired by the time he gets to Charlotte, I think the other picks are very solid.
Yeah, and we have to see if Larson actually has a car with a legitimate shot to win Indy. And if he does, that victory celebration is going to delay him getting down there, and having to come in pits to get into the car later on is going to cause an uproar. That'll put him behind, so we'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yep, and as we mentioned, joining the likes of Robbie Gordon has tried it, Kurt Busch has tried it.
John Andretti, the first to have done it.
Yep.
May he rest in peace.
Yep. So there you go. Again, had to lead off with racing, get y'all fired up for this big, massive Memorial Day weekend racing extravaganza. And it's kind of like three different social strata, if you look at those three
It
races.
is.
You got the millionaires and
hoity-toity,
billionaires. Yep.
The highfalutin. Then you go to Indy, which is kind of in between.
Yep.
You get some of the richer folks in there, but it's still hardcore American race fans.
Yep. And then you get Bubba and his wife down in Charlotte. And, of course, Indy well over 200,000 fixed seats. Biggest arena, stadium, whatever you want to call it, venue for any sport in America. All right, of course, this past weekend, the big news, the big sporting event. Yes, some would say it's the NBA playoff. No, it was one of the 4 golf majors. The PGA Championship took place. And, well, Friday morning, believe it or not Sunday afternoon, even though Sunday afternoon had its definite share of excitement. Friday morning was where we had the really shocking headline. If you woke up like I did wanting to watch round 2, you were greeted with
a mugshot.
The greatest current golfer on tour, doesn't matter if you're talking LIV or PGA, arrested hours before his tee time at Valhalla down in Louisville, Kentucky. Scottie Scheffler, of course. I'm still waiting for more information on this.
The police department is investigating. Were proper policies followed?
Because there's no body cam footage.
Why was there no body cams turned on?
Yep. And there are some witnesses that say maybe Scottie Scheffler was a little bit roughed up. You know, not to the extent where you're going to claim police brutality, but could have handled it better. All sides.
All sides. He did not need to take off with an officer holding onto his car, dragging him along. When you do that, that's going to lead you to be arrested with aggression.
Yep.
Because adrenaline is running high because you injured one of the officers.
Yeah, and they don't take kindly to that. Not at all.
Nor should they.
Nope. I almost feel like we should have a special golf edition of Frenzy 5-0 because I've got another little tidbit coming later separate from what happened with Scottie Scheffler at the PGA Championship. But on the course, the scores were ridiculously low.
Unless you're Tiger Woods. Missed the cut again.
Xander Schauffle finally breaks through, winning his very first major with a record low 4-round score at any major ever, 21 under. But my badass of the week, you might not like it, Scottie Scheffler. For what happened to him on Friday morning.
To come in and play the round that he did.
And then he did have issues on Saturday. But then he comes back on Sunday. Arrested Friday morning. Finishes out the weekend in the top 10. Tied for 8th at 13 under.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
To have overcome all of that.
And basically what it seems like happened is the adrenaline from the arrest kept him going, kept him playing well on Friday, but then he just crashed after he got off the course Friday.
Yeah,
and he could not get his energy level back Saturday. Shot his only over par round of the year to date.
Yeah.
+2. But this course was playing very easy. And I'm finding some new sources for interesting statistics. So here's my first. The 2024 PGA Championship at Valhalla. And kudos to Yahoo Sports. Their morning email newsletter is phenomenal, Monday through Friday. Highly recommend you subscribe. So all the golfers combined at Valhalla this year posted a 214 under par score. A -214, okay? The next lowest PGA Championship overall composite score for the entire field was in 1995 at Riviera, 40 over.
Oh!
So Valhalla played 254 strokes better than the previous easiest composite score at any PGA Championship. That's how easy it was for these golfers this past weekend.
Man.
That's ridiculous.
That's insane.
Then we have to give props, even though we were disappointed with her. Nelly Korda bounced back on the LPGA side. So she has now won 6 of her last 7 starts on the LPGA Tour. Man, that is badass.
That's impressive.
I just can't keep giving her Clint Eastwood badass every week, but unbelievable. Absolutely.
That's a hell of a run that she is on.
Now, as I mentioned, a little bit of Golf Frenzy 5-0 for you. Frenzy 5-0, of course, was an old segment we used to have on our cable access show where obviously wouldn't be very hard week in and week out to find athletes getting into trouble with the law.
So it was a regular thing. That's why we had it.
So this week, of course, we would have featured Scottie Scheffler, but we also would have had Richard Globensky. Who? Maestro, who is Richard Globensky? Richard Globensky.
Was he an axe murderer from Wisconsin up there in the North Woods?
No, but check out the weekend edition as we review Eli Ross Thanksgiving.
You
nice,
like that
Dave.
segue?
Nice, yeah. No, Richard Globensky worked in and around Augusta for years and years. Just pled guilty to transporting stolen goods across state lines. He stole a ton of Masters memorabilia from Augusta, made himself $5 million approximately between 2009 and 2022.
Wow.
And one of the items I believe that he stole and gave to someone, I don't believe he actually resold the items. He would pass them on to somebody else to do it and take a cut. But I believe Arnold Palmer's green jacket was one of the items.
Wow. How?
Yeah, it's like if somebody steals the Mona Lisa,
you're going to know.
You can't fence the Mona Lisa. You just can't. Now, you could be a rich dickhole and have a little private gallery hidden away in your house where you could show it off to a few select friends for the rest of eternity, but you couldn't sell it. I don't get it. All right, Doug, one of our panelists, it's time to honor him with a brief discussion of horse racing.
Yep, there will be no Triple Crown winner.
Nope. Seas of the Gray won the Preakness. Mystic Dan, our hope for the Triple Crown, the only thing that would ever make me care to rip shits about horse racing.
Exactly.
Now, who cares about the Belmont? And they're not even running it at the normal venue because it's being refurbished. So
yeah, so doesn't really matter.
And normally we don't talk about boxing because it ain't the way it used to be. It's been almost 25 years. Lennox Lewis was the last undisputed world heavyweight champion back at the turn of the century.
God help us.
We do have an undisputed heavyweight champ finally for the first time in 24 years. Alexander Usyk has now unified all of the belts as he got a split decision win over Tyson Fury.
All right.
Of course, Tyson Fury, clause in the contract, of course,
he gets a rematch.
Gets the rematch. We'll talk a little bit more about this at the end of the show. Because there's a little bit of an addendum we'll have to discuss later on to this. Sounds like a wonderful feel-good story that the belts are all unified. Wait, kids. Wait till the end.
Just wait for it.
Now, we talked a few weeks back about how, and there's something insidious going on here. There is something insidious going on here, and I will have to tie two different stories together here.
For it so to
you
make
guys
sense.
Yes. First up, we of course discussed this new sports streaming platform.
Ugh.
Involving Disney, ABC, ESPN, Fox, Warner Brothers, which of course is TNT, TBS. Supposedly at some point here before the end of the year. Now they're calling it Venue Sports, VENU. But what we really want to know is how much is this going to cost?
Yeah, no kidding. This is freaking stupid.
Okay, so now my conspiracy theory tying in Venue Sports, okay? Not necessarily a direct correlation, but the whole streaming conspiracy crap. I think what we're seeing is these companies getting together and they are trying to collude and push everybody to get this sports streaming service. Because we all know ESPN is going to be a standalone streamer later on.
Right.
They've announced that's coming in 2025. Today, very, very sneaky little move by ESPN. Because we know they, of course, own college football now. And they had, to my understanding, the rights to the college football playoff. Well, since now they're partners with
everybody,
WB Discovery, one of the partners in that Venue Sports streaming platform, we decided we're going to sub-license some of the CFP games out to TNT. So if you were to have ESPN thinking you're going to get all the college football playoff games, now you're not. You have to have TNT. TNT will get, in a 5-year deal, they will get 2 first-round games in the 2024 and 2025 seasons. And then they will up that to 4, 26, 27, and 28.
And you will probably be hosed if you have cable because they will be pulling away.
Yeah, see,
this is bullshit.
This is why I say this is conspiracy theory to the max. Is they're going to find a way. They're sitting there and going, look, the consumer's getting too smart with how they're bundling things together and how they're dropping certain services and keeping only the ones they really want. And we're going to force them.
Yeah, to get the shit they don't want.
Yeah, and it's going to be cable all over again.
Yep, that's what it's coming down to. The streaming services, we fucking told you so. That they were going to screw the entire model up, and they are doing it.
So all I can tell you, kids, is be very, very careful what services you sign up for. Monitor them. Cancel them if they're doing you no good. even if you're getting them for just a couple bucks a month, because when your promo rate runs out, that's where they get you. When it jumps up to full price and you go, oh, I forgot I was subscribed to Paramount Plus, or I forgot I was subscribed to Peacock. It's not that hard, people.
When you're done, boom,
I told the Conquistador
you can
off
always
mic,
sign back up later when they rebuild the content.
Yeah, and let them come to you.
Yeah.
Let them come to you and say, we miss you. Here's 6 months at $2 a month. And then you can go, okay, I'll be your bitch for 6 months.
And then
I'll cancel it before you get to month 7. And I was telling the Conquistador off mic, I just canceled Max and I canceled Paramount Plus the past week. Max didn't give 2 rip shits. Max said, okay, bye-bye. See you later. Paramount Plus offered me 2 more months for like $2 a month each. And I said, nope, I'm not falling for it. I want out. You don't have enough content. And of course, this is a weekend edition topic, but we're still feeling the effects of the Hollywood strike. So we're still
that bullshit.
We're still not getting enough content in the pipeline. But now it's also trickling over into sports. So now we're talking about college football. So let's stick with that for a few minutes. Dave, remember I told you just a little bit ago how much I'm loving some of this new trivia that'll blow your mind that I'm finding?
Yes.
I got another one for you.
What do you got?
Okay, there are 134 FBS teams. Okay?
Right.
4 out of 134 did not add a single transfer player.
Wow.
Now you tell me if you can figure out the outlier in these 4, okay? And then we can discuss. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Clemson.
What the hell is Dabo doing?
Dabo, from what I read, Dabo is trying to reward the players who are making a full and total commitment to Clemson. He does not want them to have to worry about looking over their shoulders for a transfer coming in and stealing their playing time. If these kids commit to Clemson, he says, I'm committing to them. Now, on the plus side, they have the highest graduation rate of any of the programs at 99%, at least for public schools.
Right.
Public schools. On the downside, we've been talking the last few years about the football program is not as good as it was.
Right. It's not as strong as it had been.
So just something to keep an eye on.
Very interesting.
Again, the armed forces, you have to get a special waiver and an act of Congress. You know, you have to basically sign up for one of the military branches to play for them. You can't transfer in.
Right. You sign up for the armed services while you're going to school there, and then if you get to play, so much the better for you.
Yeah, but it's just a very odd statistic.
Very interesting.
Yep.
Some sad news. Auburn running back Brian Batty was shot outside of a Sarasota plaza in critical condition, and unfortunately his brother was killed in that incident.
Yeah, and it
sounds like they were just innocent bystanders from some other bullshit going on, because people don't know how to settle an argument without drawing a gun first.
Yeah, and I'll go with my old standby. Is that's just the world we live in. It sucks, and this is what we created.
And again, it's probably a teenager who somehow got a hold of one who had no business having it to begin with.
And I'm going to be grumpy, get off my lawn guy, and trace it all back to the 2 things that I always do. Lack of education, because we've made it too easy on the snowflakes.
And lack of parental supervision.
And punishment.
Yes.
And punishment. You can't spank them anymore. You can't, no corporal punishment. They need the switch sometimes. God, I remember when Adrian Peterson got in such massive trouble for that.
Yeah.
And now look at what we got. An overflow of snowflakes.
Yep.
And like you said, the easiest thing for the snowflakes to do is grab a gun.
Yeah, because they don't know how to resolve issues.
Nope.
So, big lawsuit by quarterback Jada Rashada suing Florida coach Bill Lee Napier and a booster for breach of contract.
You know, this is something that months ago, I
Yeah.
think we saw coming and we talked about it.
Yeah. He has officially filed the lawsuit because he was going to sign with Miami. He was going to sign with the U, and they had offered him a $9.5 million NIL deal. Florida came in and said, we'll give you 13.5. You got to sign. And he's got all the text threads saved of the promises that were made and all the communication of that 13.5 million promised. You know how much he actually received? 150,000 as payback for something he had to outlay up front.
Yeah, and I think part of his argument is that he was promised $1 million upon signing.
Yeah, and he never received it. And the escalators, so good for him.
Yeah. I'm hoping this entire thing goes nuclear.
Yeah,
I hope between
it's got to be blown up.
Between this and of course the other lawsuit we've got to discuss is of course this House versus the NCAA that we've been bouncing around here
for
over the
years.
But it's really come into focus over the last couple months. Well, the Big 12 and the ACC have already agreed to settle. But between this NIL situation you discussed, I hope it all goes nuclear.
College sports is done.
They deserve to just go down in flames. All of them. I don't care. Greedy athletes, greedy parents, stupid schools, stupid oversight, all of it. Just go nuclear and go away. I can live without college football.
We've been talking about this for a decade, that this was coming.
Yep. But we never thought it was going to be this bad this quickly. You figured the adults in the room would somehow get together, take their time, and put together a system that might work to compensate the athletes, even though I hate it. And I've always said, fine, give them money, take away the scholarship. They don't deserve to take a scholarship away from somebody who wants to actually go to school to learn.
Right. No, this whole...
Again, why do you care about scholarships now? Because Uncle Joe's just going to pay your way through school and forgive all your debts.
Yeah. So...
Oh, there it is. There it is, kids. The horn of disgrace.
You knew it was coming.
Gotta get the horn of disgrace in every episode.
You knew it was coming.
So again, all of this, I hope it all just ends up being this big witch's brew, a disaster, a poison pill that just I can live without college football.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Because I do not want to see this come down to 2 mega conferences and all the other schools. The Mountain West goes away.
Yeah.
Conference USA goes away. I don't want that.
No.
I want an even playing field or as close as we can get. And this is far apart. It's far away from that.
It's getting worse and worse and worse. Why would you want to be part of a super conference? It destroys your chances of winning anything.
Is Vanderbilt
sense.
feeling really good about being in the SEC right now? They are going to be a perpetual doormat.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to compete.
Are they going to survive? Yes, because they're like that little succubus, that little barnacle that hangs on to the big fish.
Wake Forest is in the same boat.
I think Wake Forest has got a better shot in the ACC than Vanderbilt does in the SEC. All right, enough with this. Oh, I hate talking about this. And I'm going to say, I'll put it out there right now so in a year or two we can say I fucking told you so. That college football, you will start to see it erode. People will not pay as much attention to this 12-team playoff.
Quasimodo is shining up the death bell.
Yep. All right, playoffs. About time we talked about the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Yes, Coach Mora, playoffs. You want to tell the kids about hockey? The final four, the NHL
the
Frozen
Final
Four.
Four tonight kicks off with, as we tape this here on Wednesday the 22nd, Panthers and Rangers are going to go at it. And then Thursday, as this drops in the evening, the Oilers and the Stars.
Yep, it amazes me that the New York Rangers are getting no respect.
No, none. Here's your statistic that I got for you.
Lay it on me.
The playoffs are averaging a record 1.6 million viewers a game.
Hockey's taken off. But then, as you and I have noted, basically in the last year or so, everybody's touting these record numbers.
Yeah. So what is it really?
Somebody's padding numbers. Whether
what
it's
is
because
it
of streaming.
Really?
But I do believe the NHL is starting to take off because people are tired of the bullshit with college sports. They're tired of the bullshit with the NBA.
Yep, these guys play night in, night out.
NASCAR is always going to be a little niche sport. It's going to have its fans, and it's never going to grow that much. But it's probably never going to deteriorate that much either. It's going to be off on its own. So we shall see who comes out. Again, the odds are saying that the Rangers are the worst bet. And this is the team that had the best record in the regular season.
Typically,
I know we had that with Boston. Last year? Boston had the all-time greatest record ever.
Yeah, and they got booted in the first round.
Yep.
Typically, the best record doesn't always make the finals.
Yep. All right, in the NBA, we've already had the first in the Celtics-Pacers conference final.
The Pacers blew it.
Yep.
Literally, they turned the game over. 21 turnovers, and they were costly down the stretch. They were up 3 late in the fourth quarter, turned it over and allowed Boston to tie it, and Boston wins in overtime because of turnovers.
Yeah, that one crucial turnover you're talking about at the end of regulation. Rick Carlisle's taking that on him because he's saying, I should have called timeout, advanced the ball.
Yeah.
Or even after the turnover, we should have fouled and never let the guy get off a three-pointer to tie.
Yeah.
And that could be costly.
That's awareness of the players. They needed to know that they needed to foul right away before that shot was attempted.
Oh, and of course, LeBron James had to jump in on social media and go, oh, see, I will always say you always foul the guy before he can hoist the three. That's why your ass is at home, LeBron. That's why your stupid ass is sitting at home. Armchair basketball superstar. Asshat. Yes, I had to. Couldn't go an episode without ripping into LeBron, and of course, we already got Tiger in.
Yep. Check, show complete.
That's it, kids. Good night. No, just kidding. We still got a little ways to go.
And then tonight, here as we're taping, the Mavs and Timberwolves will begin their set.
And I've said, number one, the alien can't be happy. Because maybe the Celtics will bring in an audience, but I don't know about these other 3 teams in terms of bringing in huge numbers. They're hoping, I'm sure, for Celtics versus Mavericks. That'd be their best bet for a decent rating in the final.
Yeah.
I would prefer to see the Timberwolves over the Mavericks.
Yeah,
now,
the Timberwolves.
I root for the Pacers. I don't think they're going to beat the Celtics now, especially after botching Game 1.
Yeah, that hurt badly.
But I would love to see Celtics T-Wolves.
The Timberwolves, they have built that team over the last couple years to be in this position.
Yep.
And I would like, as big a Celtics fan as I am, I would like to see the Timberwolves show up and take the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, and take the whole thing? Not just play the Celtics in the finals?
I want to. The Celtics are a storied franchise.
Right.
The Timberwolves, they've got nothing. I like a decent underdog story.
I can get into that. Yeah. And then, of course, doesn't matter who wins this year out of these 4 teams that are left, we will have our 6th different champion in the NBA in 6 years.
Yep.
So the dynasties are over for now.
Yeah. So parity is coming in. More history in the WNBA for Caitlin Clark. She has accomplished now what only Michael Jordan has done before. She has signed with Wilson for a full signature collection.
Including, I believe, a basketball?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, boom. She is set for life on this endorsement deal.
I told you. We got together the other night for our quarterly Sports Frenzy meeting, and I told you. I admitted it. I don't know if I said it loud and proud, but I admitted it, that I have watched most of 3 of her first 4 games with the Indiana Fever. I just wanted to see what the big deal was. I did watch a little bit of college, when she was going through the tournament. But I wanted to see. I wanted to give it a shot. We bash women's sports, at least up until about the last year, and I think we're starting to get a little bit more respect headed the ladies' ways. With Nelly Korda,
so.
and now with WNBA.
You are seeing better players coming up through the ranks.
Now, I will say this. Obviously, the Indiana Fever are 0-4 right now to start the season. I think they're out in Seattle tonight.
Yeah, their coach is awful.
I will say this, though. They did not get any favors with the schedule. Even though there's only 12 teams in the WNBA, they ended up basically doing home and home with the 2 best teams, the New York Liberty and the Connecticut Sun, who both, New York's 4-0, Connecticut's 3-0.
Yeah, so there you go.
So, yeah, the Fever are 0-4. We'll see if they can go out on the West Coast tonight, win their first game against Seattle. Caitlin Clark having an up-and-down beginning.
Yeah, you would expect that, though.
She's averaging 17 points per game, 5.5 assists, but
the turnovers are killing her.
6.5 turnovers a game. And she's getting her ass beat.
Yeah,
She's running into hard screens and just getting knocked to the ground.
She is getting punished for the success she had in college.
Yeah. This is almost like prison basketball, prison yard basketball.
Yeah. So,
they're
but she just has to keep showing up and improve and tell everybody to suck it.
And she's showing glimpses. She is showing glimpses that she is going to be a special player.
Yeah.
But she does look really small compared to what's in the WNBA, as opposed to what we saw in college. Will I watch more? I don't know, maybe.
Here and there, potentially.
Remember, I'm the guy that watched half of the first season of the USFL. So I'll jump in on some of these fringe sports now and then just to have some fun.
Just to see what's going on.
Yeah, and I actually did watch more WNBA this week than NBA. Although I did watch a fair share of the NBA as well. I will admit that.
Yep, I actually watched the second half of the Pacers-Knicks game on Sunday.
Yeah, and of course, that game, which Pacers won, got through New York, in New York at Madison Square Garden. Unbelievable shooting.
That was insane. They were over 100 points at the end of the third quarter.
I believe it was a record.
Yeah.
67.1% field goal percentage in that Game 7 against the Knicks.
Yeah, they were shooting lights out.
Now, I will say this. The Knicks, number one, God bless Tom Thibodeau. He is a better coach than he gets credit for.
Oh, he is.
He always gets criticized.
You play your guys too long.
Yeah. Who do you think we're going to side with? The pussies who say, we got to go with load management. The analytics geeks, or are we going to go with old school Tom Thibodeau, who says, did you lose an arm? Did you lose a leg? Then get out there and play basketball.
And let's face it, they were the Knicks were shorthanded anyway. They
Well,
had some
and
key.
Jalen Brunson breaks his hand during the game. I mean, they had to suffer through a ton of injuries.
Yeah.
I know there's no excuses, but man, they were a mash unit by the time Game 7 was
They
over.
were. And you wonder why Thibodeau pushes his guys to play longer. It's so when this happens, when they're shorthanded, they have the stamina to keep going.
Yeah, and that team's got to have depth. Because again, at some point, Thibodeau is going to wear these guys out, and they're going to have guys on the bench who come in and perform. And they really did this year.
Yeah.
But the injuries just got ridiculous.
And he gets a lot of crap for running the guys out, but none of his players complain. They all buy in
right
to
now
his
they love
system.
him. Now he's had issues in the past. He wore out his welcome in Chicago.
That was with management, though.
But then he had issues in Minnesota as well.
And it was more with management. Because look at the guys who went with him up there and followed him around.
Yeah, and again, you guys know, if you've listened to the podcast in the past, and if you haven't been, where the fuck have you been? I listen to a lot of New York sports radio just because I think it's better than Chicago, even though we're closer to Chicago. And what I'm hearing from the New York fans is they love this team. They love Thibodeau. And New York fans can be really mean.
Yeah.
They can turn on you in an instant if they think that you are not stepping up and performing. They are nitpicking the roster a little bit and saying, we can't count on Julius Randle. He gets injured every year.
And that's a legitimate complaint.
Yeah, no, but they sound like they love this team. They love Jalen Brunson. There's certain guys they want to keep, but they also are smart enough to realize, I can't believe I'm saying New York sports fans are smart. But Julius Randle, there wouldn't be heartbroken if they ship him out to bring somebody else like a Devin Booker in. Since we're back with the WNBA, or from the WNBA back to the NBA, can we just talk about this feel-good story one more time with the Timberwolves? And what Anthony Edwards said to Charles Barkley. What was it? When the Timberwolves won, moving on to this series with the Mavericks, Barkley, of course, said, I don't think I've been in Minnesota for 20 years. And Anthony Edwards said, bring your ass. Now Minnesota has embraced bring your ass.
Bring your ass.
One guy. Another one of
bring your ass to Minnesota.
Yeah, can I have a Clint Eastwood badass talking about bring your ass? Because
yes,
smart guy, after Anthony Edwards said that, of course, Edwards, big time rising star with that team.
Oh, absolutely.
But like you said, they've been building that team with Karl Anthony Towns. They've got some fantastic pieces. They finally got, I think, the right coach. But some guy went out, as this is the modern world, it's been like this for 20 years, went out and bought the URL for bring your ass. And what he did is he linked it to the website for Minnesota tourism.
Brilliant.
And they got double the hits on the Minnesota tourism website after he did that.
Nice.
Now, they were people asking him, did you do this for the money? He said, well, I could sell it. I don't know if I'm going to be that guy. So he could go sell it, or it sounds like he might be nice and just give it to Minnesota. And if they want to use it, they can use it.
He might get a little something out of it, but.
Yep. But very, very smart.
Yep.
Clint Eastwood, badass of the week. Bring your ass.
Bring your ass.
All right, little bit with the NFL. Little tiny bit. I know the schedule came out when we were doing our episode last week. I really don't know if it's worth it right now.
It's not worth going through.
Most of the highlights we've already talked about. The overseas games.
Yeah.
The opening week games.
Yeah, we'll see.
Speaking of overseas games, I don't know what the NFL Academy is. I guess they're opening an NFL Academy in Australia in September. And of course, everybody's saying this is a precursor to Australia being the next host of an international game.
Well, of course it is.
Just like the streaming, though. Just
It's
blatant greed.
going too damn far.
Blatant greed. Nobody cares about the fans.
No, nobody cares about the players.
Right. And most poisonous snakes in the world are in Australia.
They have the top 10 deadliest everything in Australia. Come on, let's be real. But you know what isn't deadly? Where you can find us and this great podcast on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy, baby.
Otherwise known as, of course, iHeartRadio. Do not forget to check out the Facebook page.
The weekend edition got the first part of Collective Soul's new album. We already mentioned we'll be discussing Thanksgiving, and we'll wrap up Dead Boy Detectives.
So you do not want to miss the weekend edition Facebook page. Also, a great place to go to see all of our NASCAR picks, all of our weekly baseball picks, and then once we get the football season, every week, every game that we deem worthy, all of our panels.
When he goes nutsy cuckoo with the schedule, when he picks angry.
I start to stress out, yes, and I pick angry sometimes. I wish I couldn't. I wish I didn't. I wish I may. I wish I might, but no. There are weeks where I just start going, put that on there. Put that on a slate. Put that on a slate.
But you know what just got put on the slate for 2026? The NFL draft is going to Pittsburgh. So the Steel City will get the draft in 2 years.
Be very interesting to see next year with Green Bay and then in 2 years with Pittsburgh if they can even come close to matching what Detroit did.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Impressive.
So now OTAs have kicked off, and we've got a couple of bigger name receivers who are sitting out looking for contracts. That would be in Minnesota, Mr. Justin Jefferson.
Which we figured.
We knew that was going to happen. And then just today, I read that in San Francisco, Brandon Ayuk is also sitting out.
And that's a dangerous game for him.
Yeah, they were talking trade anyway.
Minnesota will pay Justin Jefferson. That will get done. That deal will definitely get done. Ayuk, he makes too much of a stink. He might be out the door.
He might want to be out the door.
Yeah. But he had a really nice connection with Brock Purdy.
He does. They do have a good connection. So we'll just have to wait and see.
And Jefferson, if anybody's got the right to say, give me money because I don't know how good I'm going to be in the coming years, he's got to worry about J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
And you guys know I don't think he's worth crap.
So
I like Bo Nix better than him.
We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out.
Yep.
All right. Baseball wrap-up. Paul Skeens, the phenom in Pittsburgh.
Oh, what do you have to bring this up for? What do you have to bring this up for? Was I being nice? I heard you sigh, and I was going to say, here we go. That must be the White Sox recap.
No, I had to shove the shiv in.
Yeah, you were going to say something else that began with shh. The Cubs lineup looked like shit against Mr. Skeens.
Yeah, 6 no-hit innings against the Cubs. Pulled. 100 pitches through 6 innings. They don't let him go out for the 7th. And the bullpen promptly gives up the no-hitter.
Yep. And I was texting you, even though you hate the Cubs with a passion. I knew you would enjoy my misery. So I was texting Dave during the game as I was following it on the Gamecast on ESPN's website. And I was just like, yep, they're being no-hit. He struck out the first 6 Cubs, I think it was.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Here we go again.
So, but again, they're not letting the pansification of our pitchers. Yes, he's a rookie. Okay, maybe if he would have tried to get the no-hitter, he'd have probably thrown 130.
And you know who ruined that for everybody? If you go back years, Johan Santana.
Yeah.
because he went for the no-hitter and tore up his arm and was never the same.
No, so it just sucks. I would have at least, they should have at least given him the opportunity to go out, and if he gave up a hit in the 7th, then pull him.
I agree. We're getting, again, the analytics.
The analytic
load management.
This is ridiculous. It's ruining the game. And I hate all these people. Well, it's the right decision to make. Seriously, come on. You guys are not true baseball fans. Yes, you can't ruin a guy's career for history. Gee, how about maybe he should have more of a say in what he wants to do?
And there was no amount of load management or babying or pampering that would have saved Steven Strasburg's career.
No.
It's just going to happen.
Either it does or it doesn't.
As we talked about a month ago, we talked about our theories on why this is happening. And we go back to when they're younger, Little League, how they're being coached. They're being pushed to throw pitches they should not pitch, putting a lot of torque on their arm and their elbow.
You can't do that to the young kids as they're still growing. Those tendons are still, they cannot take that kind of abuse.
Well, since Dave got in his little dig on my Cubs, and I'm not gonna rail on them. I'm not going to, even though I still think for a team that's 27-22, I don't know how they're 27-22. I just don't. I don't like this team right now. I don't like it at all. It's a bunch of high-priced idiots who can't hit. Ian Happ! Every week, he's going to join LeBron James and Tiger Woods, and I am going to rip on him every goddamn week until he starts earning his $20 million a year.
Ian Happ has been an absolute disaster, and he got butthurt for being benched for 2 games.
Well, then maybe you hit a little more than 212. How about that, Ian? There's a reason why you got benched. You're hitting 212 with, 2 whopping home runs?
Yeah. Ugh. They never should have given him
nobody in the lineup
deal.
is that much better. There are, again, no 300 hitters in the lineup.
Nope. Your weekly 300 hitters report.
Yes, this should be a weekly thing as we chronicle the decline and fall of pure hitting in baseball.
Yep. So last week there were 18 batters hitting over 300. This week we're down to 15.
Doesn't shock me.
Speaking of 15, that's how many wins the White Sox are up to now at 15-34. Still the worst team. Right there with the Rockies.
Rockies and the Marlins and the White Sox. Those
They're
3
all...
teams, they're going to be fighting it out for this
oh
honor.
My God.
This
and the
dubious
Sox,
honor.
The Sox are a minus 100 on the run differential. 17 worse than the Marlins at minus 83, who's the next worst.
Yeah, I mean, is it even worth mentioning? They're 17.5 behind Cleveland.
No, because they're out of it.
Of course, the Cubs are 1.5. It seems like they've been 1.5 games behind Milwaukee for a month.
Yeah, pretty much.
Milwaukee can't pull away, but the Cubs can't catch them either.
No, they're...
Oh, and by the way, little fun fact, this one's mine. I didn't get this from anybody. I just happened to find this out on my own research. Not really that difficult. But today, this morning, not counting the results of today's games, if the season ended today and we had to set the playoffs, the National League would have a team under 500 as a wild card. That would be the San Diego Padres, 1 game under 500. They would make the cut and be the final wild card.
Ouch.
Yeah, that tells you how much better the American League is.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think a lot of it, I know you're not going to like to hear this, a lot of it is the surprising quality of play in the American League Central. The Royals and the
Royals,
Guardians.
Guardians, And even the Twins
Well,
are
the Twins are like
deep.
a roller coaster ride, though.
Yeah, they're either on or off.
Yeah.
But still, between those three teams,
A
the
lot better than you.
surprising Royals. Maybe it's because Chris Getz pulled all the shitty people out of Kansas City.
But yeah, the Royals are just impressing the hell out of me. As are the Guardians.
Yeah.
So
The Guardians do year in, year out anyway.
they have a good organization. They're like, in many ways, like the Rays.
Yeah. Or how the Cardinals used to be.
They won't spend a ton of money, but a good farm system, smart guys in the front office.
Yep. You could say St. Louis, Atlanta, Tampa, and Cleveland.
And by the way, funny that you would mention the Cardinals. They just swept the Orioles, your pick this week.
They did get the sweep.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
Hey, the Braves aren't doing much better for me, so. And then Nick, of course, Mr. Late Pick, has the Yankees. He's already he's right now -1 because the Yankees can't handle the Mariners right now.
No, that's surprising.
Yeah, again, pending. We don't know the games today, the outcome on the 22nd, but.
Oh, Lord.
And the New York Mets are absolutely miserable, and I love every fucking second of it. Because remember, we're going to spend way over the luxury tax threshold. We're bringing in Verlander, and we're bringing in Scherzer. And now they had to tear that team apart, and they are awful. And one of the few good players they had, you want to talk about up and down? Edwin Diaz, 1 year looks like the greatest closer of all time, and the next year he's a dumpster fire. Well, this year he's a dumpster fire.
Yep, so go figure.
He has been demoted from his role as Mets closer, and he was going as the #1 overall closer pick in fantasy baseball preseason. Hey, Dave, Barry Bonds is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. The Pittsburgh Pirates Hall of Fame.
I was going to say.
In August.
What did I miss?
Barry Bonds will be inducted into the Pittsburgh Pirates Hall of Fame. And finally in baseball, scandal getting a little bit more interesting. We thought it was resolved. We thought it was all over. But now, Major League Baseball is investigating former Angel player David Fletcher, as he used the same illegal bookie as Ipe Mizuhara.
Ooh,
So we'll see where this goes.
Interesting.
Now, if they suspend David Fletcher for life, is anybody really going to freak out about it?
Probably not.
But just like with streaming and with the NIL deals and all that we've talked about earlier, opening up the floodgates with legalized gambling.
There you go.
More fun for us to dig into kids, more scandals.
Yep,
for us to dissect.
Coming. So bad.
All right, moments of silence. The man they called Mr. Raider, Hall of Fame center for the then, of course, Oakland Raiders.
Yep.
Jim Otto passed away.
Yep. Thoughts and prayers to his family and friends.
And then, after that, Mr. Geller, what do?
We pivot. Pivot!
Of course, we have been reveling in the fact that 90s show will be back soon on Netflix. And the man who inspired us to put this highlight every week at the back end of the episodes, the Red Foreman Dumbasses of the Week. Now, of course, we go through, we pick who we feel is the true ultimate Dumbass of the Week. Took it easy this week. Decided to rein things in a little bit because, like you talked about when I make football picks.
When you pick angry?
Yeah, you can tell when I'm doing the dumbasses if I'm picking angry. If I come in with like 8,
then we know he's had a bad week.
Then you know I hate society and all mankind. This week, I don't know. Guess I'm in a good mood. I've only got 3. And let's start off with going back to boxing. I mentioned that we were going to get back into this, talking about how great it finally should be to have a unified, undisputed heavyweight champion. Well,
but is it?
the IBF has already said they are going to strip Alexander Usyk of his belt on June the 1st.
Why would that be?
Because he didn't fight their top contender.
In a timely manner.
Right. He needed to fight one of their top contenders in a timely manner, 6-1, June the 1st being the deadline. So we will have
Lord,
a unified heavyweight champ for just a few more days, about a week. How dumb is that? I guess
that's pathetic.
Daniel Dubois and Filip Hrgovic are going to be fighting for the IBF belt. So once again, the whole thing will be fractured. Once again.
Idiots and morons.
And this, ironically, is kind of what happened the last time back in 2000.
Yeah.
Lennox Lewis got stripped of one of the belts that he had when he was the last unified champion for the same reason.
Yeah, because of the timing of one of the bouts he had to train for and couldn't squeeze the other one in.
Right. It's dumb
stupid.
Beyond belief. And boxing wonders why.
Because you can't expect these guys to really have 3 title bouts within a year.
No. Absolutely not.
That's ridiculous.
Even back when we did follow boxing, the glory days, of course, of Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis. 2 a year. I think it was 2 a year. Yep. And again, they wonder why boxing is irrelevant. Because you can't even revel in a really good, positive headline for boxing for more than 2 weeks before you blow it all up, fuck it all up, and screw it all up. All right, I've said this in the past. We all know this. Now, I love watching golf. I watch the 4 majors. But I cannot stand the idiotic fans at golf tournaments. Yelling out, Baba Booey.
Get in the hole.
Well, we reached a new low Sunday morning. As I got up, got a cup of coffee, flipped on the coverage. It was still early. So the big time, big name guys in the lead weren't going to tee off for hours. But Max Homa is a pretty decent younger golfer. He's played very well. He wasn't in contention here at Valhalla at the PGA Championship. But I happened to flip on the TV, and about 20 minutes after I did, and I was looking at emails, just had it on in the background, I had to rewind because I heard something, and I was like, I did not just hear that. Did I? So I had to rewind as young Max Homa was teeing off. An idiot in the stands yelled, homosexual.
Oh, for the love of God.
And you wonder why I want no fans at these goddamn tournaments. Let these guys play in complete and total quiet and silence, because these morons should not be allowed to live, let alone go to a tournament and be a spectator if they're going to yell this kind of idiocy. And nobody ever mentioned it. I didn't hear it on a talk show. I didn't hear it. And I rewound it and listened to it again and said, yep, he yelled out homosexual.
So bad.
I literally, if I'd been standing next to him, I'd have punched him in the face.
Yep.
I said, you're the reason why society sucks, is people like you. Idiot.
Dumbass.
Finally, this is kind of a broad, sweeping dumbass of the week. Probably going to be my pick, because we didn't really talk about this last week. Didn't think it was that big of a deal at the time. And we'll cover a different angle on this on the weekend edition. But this massive national uproar about Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker and his commencement speech. This, again, it gets worse and worse and worse every day you wake up. Did he say what he wanted to say in the best possible way? No.
Probably not.
But I don't think...
There's nothing inherently wrong with him talking about his beliefs. Last I checked, we still live in a free country.
And I will give credit, believe it or not, kudos to Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Yes, Andy Reid.
I know, the man we despise and vilify any chance we get, the two of them get props for standing behind him.
They said exactly what needed to be said. Free country, just like you said. You made me think of Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Free country, people are allowed to have different opinions.
Yep. Reid said,
I
don't agree with what you guys say, but I still allow you in here to ask me questions. There you go.
But yeah, Harrison Butker, if you guys have been living under a rock, had a commencement speech at a college university, I believe, and I didn't do a deep dive into it. I scanned it. I skimmed the heart of it, the major parts of it that
it
were
wasn't
causing the problem.
Inherently disturbing.
Everybody's jumping on, the fact they think he's a Neanderthal because he implied that you don't have to, as a woman, seek out a career and you can be happy at home raising the kids and being a housewife.
It's true.
How can you take that and say he's basically degrading women? Now, did he say it in the cleanest, best possible way? No. Could have been worded a little bit differently, a little bit better, maybe emphasizing the fact that nobody's saying you can't go after your dreams and you can't have a career, but don't feel bad and don't feel ashamed because
if you
it's
would
important
prefer to have a family instead.
It's important to be that parent at home sometimes, to raise the children, to guide them, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, with these dumbass kids running around with guns when no supervision or parenting done to them at all. Ugh.
So I'm voting for all the idiots, all the trolls out there, most of them, of course, in Hollywood and in the entertainment world. All of them, they have political science degrees and degrees in socioeconomics and
shut up and entertain.
And meanwhile, their kids are the ones that are shooting up heroin and getting in high-speed car wrecks because, for your 21st birthday, I'll give you a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
But they're the arbiters of morality for the free world. So I'm going with all the idiots who are going overboard on criticizing Harrison Butker.
I concur. There we go.
All right, kids. Do not forget to check out the weekend edition. Dave's already given you the rundown on what we're going to be talking about. Once again, Dead Boy Detectives, Eli Roth horror flick Thanksgiving, the first disc you would say, if you're looking at it as an LP, the first disc of the double album that was just released from Collective Soul. We will also, breaking news today, we will also rip apart Apple's pretentious, horrible list of what they feel are the 100 best albums of all time. You want to make the maestro mad? You want to make him run to the bathroom for his blood pressure medication? Do a dumbass list like this about movies or music, and the steam will be coming out of my ears while we talk about this on the weekend edition.
So there you go.
I have some observations written down about this list beyond the obvious, but you're going to have to listen to your Saturday morning hangover cure and just imagine me, to get a picture of me off the internet if there are any out there. Yeah, don't look for the naked ones, okay? And just put my face up on the wall and take a red marker and that's what my face will be looking like as I talk about this asinine list from Apple.
Do they ever list? Well, we'll get into it later.
Yeah, you guys have to listen to this. No more. We've given you foreshadowing. We've given you a little teaser on it. If you want to listen to me go ballistic, you're going to have to listen Saturday morning to your weekend hangover cure, the weekend edition. He's a conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
Say goodnight to the kids, Dave.
Say goodnight to the kids, Dave.